So before the presentation begins, I would like to say to my course professor or moderator, to my thesis advisor, and to the panel of jurors, a pleasant day. I would like to start my presentation off by reviewing the driving force for my thesis study last semester, which is natural disasters, or more importantly, the ways to mitigate its risks. So what are natural disasters and how does it affect the way we live? To recap, we know that our country, the Philippines, being an archipelago in the Asia-Pacific region, one of the most natural disaster-prone areas in the world, Filipinos are exposed to certain environmental hazards, including earthquakes, floods, storms, storm surges, and droughts and volcanic eruptions, to say the least. Disasters, either natural or man-made, cause significant impact to society, and this accounts for infrastructure and collateral damage, injury, and loss of lives in a given period of time. These disaster risks are increased in areas where there is little critical assessment of preparation for the likely event, poor infrastructure and planning, and is widely exposed to nature. These areas are rural areas like provinces, and these risks affect different institutions of the community, such as churches, health clinics, marketplaces, and especially schools. Also, climate change in likelihood will intensify the vulnerability of such areas due to its unpredictability, as it will either shorten or lengthen the duration of the climate event. So the geographical location surrounding my thesis study is the municipality of Manay. And a quick background, the province's residents are a combination of locals and settlers from other provinces around the country, bringing in diverse types of religion. The Mandaya tribe, however, is the most powerful or most prominent tribu. The topographical contour of the province is defined with an contouring chain of mountain ranges and an even spread of plateaus combined with alluvial valleys, swamps, and lowlands. Going back to climate change and the risks of disasters afoot are always going to be present. It is a constant of our world, unavoidable and uncontrollable. These natural events of an unusual magnitude cause threats to the rural economy as it greatly affects infrastructure, businesses, and its residents in general. Gradually adapting to these changes brought about by these climate conditions are necessary and should be the response in order to mitigate the environmental risks involved that affects the rural communities that are very much vulnerable. For conducting a study, the importance of disaster risk mitigation can be highlighted to formulate resiliency, which should allow for the long-term sustainability in the tropical setting. It is necessary because as time progresses, contemporary climate change increases the risks of extreme weather events and their unpredictability increases as well. This unpredictability poses danger, especially to rural communities such as the municipality of Manay. The problems or issues presented pertaining to this topic involves the case of disaster resiliency and environmental risk mitigation. Due to being in the Asia-Pacific region where natural disasters are prone and common, the Philippine archipelago faces various environmental hazards ranging from floods, earthquakes, storms, droughts, and volcanic eruptions. These environmental hazards and occurrences of natural disasters contribute to the damage, loss, and disruption of lives, businesses, and economy. Also, because of climate change factors, the lengthened risk of the natural occurrences is becoming more and more prominent as time goes by. Many various natural disasters affect each region or urban city in different ways. However, their impact is more devastating in rural communities like provinces. Many various natural disasters affect each region or urban city in different ways. However, their impact is more devastating in rural communities like provinces. Rural areas like provinces are communities that are small, plain, and simple in function and aesthetic. The provinces are a far cry and does not meet the same urbanization context that are provided by modern cities. These contexts are privileges such as preparedness, urban planning, resource accessibility, and pertaining to this topic, disaster resiliency and environmental risks mitigation. However, the problem ensues as school establishments in the area are seldomly maintained and likely unsafe and unsatisfactory in being disaster resilient. The schools are not adequately planned, oriented, and unsustainable. And the problem now extends as school grounds should cater their services and focus of education towards children and teenagers in making their safety a major priority as they are the ones who are present at school grounds for most of the time. When these natural disaster or climate events strike, most that are heavily impacted or more likely vulnerable in the rural community of Manay might tend to evacuate or seek refuge at schools because it is accessible, have ample amount of space or rooms to house a significant number of people, and somehow schools have been a common ground for retreat and is recognized by many residents. Going back, in rural communities such as those provinces with smaller to an average number of residents in particular, they are supported by the presence of their respective schools. Traditionally, rural schools contribute to a central role in their communities as they provide important factors for their children aside from basic education such as aesthetics, music and drama, art, recreation, and other social and extracurricular activities that do not just play a vital role in its school itself, but also in the rural community. The community itself and the school easily work hand in hand because learning is linked with their communities. And because of the rural setting, the schools are easily able to socially interact with the town or community itself. So which brings me to my proposal for my thesis, a proposed primary to secondary provincial school in Manay, Davao Oriental, a study on disaster resiliency to help mitigate disaster risks through adaptive architecture. So let's move on to the analysis regarding the on-site location. The administration and faculty building are purposely set in front of the site to act as a buffer for the main student facilities. It is also adjacent to the parking space in front of the site for, for the accessibility for vehicles. The science laboratory building is adjacently placed beside the computer laboratory building, making the series of buildings a lab space area. The science laboratory is also near secondary level users who will be the ones that will utilize them more. The building is located in front of the site that will act as a buffer for noises coming from the national main road and other noise sources. The computer laboratory is located near the administration and faculty building for monitoring purposes. The lab is also along the side of the secondary level users that will utilize them the most. It is for ease of access. The building is also used as a buffer for noises coming from the main road, just like the science laboratory. So the senior high school building is located on the left side of the site adjacent from the main road where the secondary level buildings are located. The secondary level buildings are separated or are facing away from the elementary and kindergarten levels because of the difference of interest, security, and monitoring. It is positioned in such a way to allow a corridor wind effect on the site with winds coming from the northeast to the southwest part of the site. The structure or shape of the building is in accordance with DepEd 2020 school designs for calamity resilient school buildings. So the high school department building is for the same reasons as the senior high school building. It is located on the left side of the site adjacent from the main road where the secondary level buildings are located. The secondary level buildings are separated or are facing away from the elementary and kindergarten levels because of such as the same reasons as the senior high school building department is the difference of interest, security, and monitoring. It is also positioned in such a way to allow a corridor wind effect on the site with winds coming from northeast to the southwest part of the site. The structure or shape of the building in accordance with DepEd 2020 school designs of the calamity resilient school buildings, like the senior high school department. The activity grounds are purposefully made wide enough for recreational, extracurricular, and emergency case purposes. Each of the school buildings are facing a wide area of open activity grounds in order to act as a visual comfort and to help develop a sense of connection to nature with the students. The grounds can be used for academic and extracurricular purposes, but it can also be utilized for emergency purposes such as of those collective grounds, tent areas, and refuge spaces when natural disasters strike. The grounds are located between the building to act as a corridor-like funnel for wind circulation, which is for the benefit of the students, teachers, and staff. The clinic is located at the right side of the site beside the administration and faculty building and is purposely near the kindergarten department due to the little children who are more vulnerable to injuries and hazards. The clinic also acts as a buffer from the adjacent noise pollution and the pollution in general coming from the main road. The school library is located at the right side of the site together with the primary building and the kindergarten. The adjacency of the library to the elementary school buildings aims to encourage the young students who are still in the developmental stages of their development to be drawn to books. The library is adjacent to a school garden that helps buffer noise and pollution coming from the main road. Is located on the right side of the site and is facing the elementary building. Similar to the secondary level layout, the kindergarten building is oriented to maximize air circulation. The building is also adjacent to an open playing ground which the children lean more into, which helps develop their hobby and creativity. The building is near the clinic in order to monitor and tend to the kindergarten students because they are more vulnerable to hazards. The school building is located on the right side of the site and is facing the kindergarten building. Similar to the secondary layout, the elementary building is oriented to maximize air circulation, and the elementary building is adjacent to an open activity ground, retention ponds, pocket gardens, and planting grounds in general, which encourages students to learn and interact with nature. The building is also near the school library to encourage reading. The pocket gardens are used to inform and educate the students about botany, planting, and at the same time, it acts as a water retention swale or canal hat. It is located at the south to southeast side of the site where the water runoff flows, or the water runoff naturally flows. The water collected can then be used on various different means that the users intend to, giving way to a sustainable source of non-potable water. The gymnasium is located at the back of the site, specifically the southeast side. The gymnasium is purposely placed near the emergency service gate that comes from the main road that leads to residential areas in order to provide a direct and simple shelter or cover for the community when disaster strikes. A road leading to the northern service road is also adjacent to the gymnasium to allow for an easy drop-off of equipment for events that the school will hold. The school canteen is intended to have an equidistant location from the school buildings. The canteen also receives a direct and unobstructed view of the activity grounds. The accessibility of the canteen to the areas of the school with high activity such as the activity ground and gymnasium is deliberate. The canteen is also just adjacent to the school waste fill for an easy access of waste disposal. The school canteen is intended to have an equidistant location from the school buildings. The canteen also receives a direct and unobstructed view of the activity grounds. The accessibility of the canteen to the areas of the school with high activity, such as the activity ground and the gymnasium, is deliberate. And the canteen is also just adjacent to the school waste fill for easy access of waste disposal. The storage and utility building is directly accessible from the main service road for easy drop-off and delivery of school equipments and necessities. The storage and utility is accessible from the points of the building with daily need of upkeep and amenities such as gymnasium and especially the canteen. The waste disposal fill is along the main service road that allows it to be easily disposed of. The disposal field is also located at the far distances from the classrooms and the other institutional buildings to prevent foul smells from disrupting daily activities. Community gardens are intended to be located at the different points of the site for students to utilize. A community garden and miniature forest is also intended to be located near the waste disposal field for the reasons of the trees to buffer the site of the waste disposal to prevent the stench or foul odors from reaching the school and administration buildings, and lastly, to be able to make use of the compost to act as nourishment, thus further enriching the garden. On to the design strategies that I incorporated throughout the designs of the buildings present on the site. The first one would be the design strategy of passive ventilation. It helps maximize the breezes through the use of vents, doors, and windows, and it helps in minimizing internal obstacles. The ventilation also helps remove hot air through convection airflow inside the buildings. Windows can help encourage the ventilation, which is important in tropical areas. Windows are effective in directing the movement of air within a building as it also allows for transparency and energy efficiency. Natural lighting in buildings are designed to maximize the amount of natural light that enters the building, particularly areas with high productivity. This method reduces the need to use artificial lighting, saves energy, and increases productivity. The next design strategy would be landscaping. For landscaping allows for a cooler building, which means heat reduction from the extent of surfaces that reflects and or store heat. Given that we are in a very hot tropical country, being able to plant around areas and replace heat storing surfaces with vegetation creates a cooler environment, cooler building, and enjoyable outdoor areas. The next design strategy would be a staple, which is the rainwater tank. The rainwater tank overflows can be linked with filtering systems or stormwater within the site. It also allows for some quality of water that should be taken into account, and mesh must cover over the openings to prevent mosquitoes from breeding in the tank. The recycled water may be used as a substitute for drinking water for non-potable uses like land irrigation, air cooling towers, and flushing. It may decrease the negative impact on the environment as gray water may be used for bathroom, flushing, and irrigation of landscapes. Next design strategy would be rain gardens, as rain gardens were designed in the function of retaining stormwater runoff from the site. Rain gardens are typically basins or ground sunk, which is then filled with soil, aggregate, and vegetation. So this design strategy supplements the elevation strategy, where you elevate the building. So the final design strategy would be the acoustic accordion walls. And it's a very useful one as it allows for space management. The movable walls provide an effective space solution for a variety of environments, including such as offices, educational establishments such as this, sporting facilities, dining and entertainment facilities, religious centers, and retail areas, and the like. It is also a smart use of space. By utilizing operable walls, the room sizes can be changed in an instant, which can be very useful in times of emergencies. It can create the most efficient use of floor space, whether it's dividing a school hall into two different multi-purpose areas for physical activities, or splitting a large conference facility into smaller seminar rooms by subdividing these space with acoustic movable walls. Which leads us to another benefit, which the operable individual panel systems offer noise reduction up to 58 decibels due to a combination of acoustic infills and an operable top and bottom seals. The final perk of it is the adaptable configurations. The track and carrier system provides ease of operation and directional flexibility, allowing panel stacking in countless configurations. Move on to the presentation of the floor plans of the site. The first one would be the elementary building ground floor plan, which is elevated by 0.8 meters and has a long corridor which allows for airflow, and the walls that divide the classrooms are equipped with the acoustic accordion walls, which would be very helpful in cases of emergencies where a larger room is needed. The second floor plan of the elementary building is also very similar to the ground floor plan, which showcases a very long corridor which allows for airflow, and it is also equipped with the acoustic accordion walls. The next floor plan would be the administration building. It showcases on the ground floor the finance head office, the finance office, the admissions office, registrar's office, and the archives room. The floor plan layout is very direct as it has two openings in the front and the rear. The front is connected The front is connected to the main parts of the school while the rear is facing the main road. Floor plan of the administration building showcases the faculty area, which is a private sector of for the teachers of the site or the school. It also houses the consultation room, the guidance office, and conference rooms. The third floor plan of the administration building is just very similar to the second floor plan as it's a key plan. Would be the gymnasium floor plan. The gymnasium houses 400 seats for viewing sport events, and these seats and the large space that the gymnasium holds is important and crucial in times of emergencies. These spaces is also very important not just for the evacuees of emergencies but also for the medical and governmental assistance staff. The next floor plan would be the kindergarten floor plan. The kindergarten floor plan is also very similar to the other floor plans or the floor plans that involves classrooms. The walls are made of acoustic accordion walls, which would help expand the space in terms of emergency. The high school building is also very similar to the other classroom floor plans. It has very similar benefits to the design. The cafeteria floor plan, which is very standard with the dining area, the serving area, and the food stalls adjacent to each other. There is also an emergency exit located to the right side of the plan. It's also adjacent to the public toilets. The next floor plan would be the science laboratory floor plan. The computer laboratory floor plan. And it is very similar to the science laboratory floor plan, which is very straightforward. The library, the library floor plan also houses two openings at the front, which is accessed by the students, and the on the ground floor located is the reading areas and the reception area. On the second And lastly, for the walkthrough.